Okay, welcome everyone. This is the Better Together panel. Thank you for sticking around through the afternoon. We'll get started in a little bit, so I'll just introduce myself first. My name is Ornela Thieba, and I'm a co-founder of Women-Owned Narratives, and we are a grassroots movement, and we started last year with International Women's Day, and the momentum just kept going, and this year we are coming again with another event, Intergenerational Storytelling, and it's just about integrating the stories of each generations and women of different backgrounds so we can advance together and build community. So I'll start from my left over here. So we have Dr. Cora Voyageur, Christina Stuwe, Jennifer Burthwright, Jenny Burthwright, Onyinye Odih, and Sheila Qayumi with us today. And they'll be sharing their stories. Sheila and Onyinye are from Center for Newcomers, Sheila, and Onyinye is from Thieba, and they'll be sharing resources that have supported women and build community throughout the city of Calgary. So without further ado, I'm gonna pass the mic to Dr. Cora to share a bit of her story with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cora Voyageur. I'm a First Nation woman from the Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation in northeastern Alberta. My spirit name is Sepia Matapo, which means her journey begins at night. I am a sociologist at the University of Calgary, where I've taught for 26 years. So when I look at the rest of the people on this panel, I think my age probably equals all of these other people put together. So, but anyway, with that, we have, I have a lot of experience. Also, as a university professor, I can speak up to 3 hours at a time. So settle in, everybody. And this poor young gal up here is going to try to get me to stop talking after 5 minutes. So I wish her luck. So having said that, as a First Nation woman, I have done every crappy job that there is in Canada. The statistics tell us that we're more likely to be in the service industry, which I was. I have been a janitor, I've been a waitress, I've been a bartender, I've been a painter, I washed cars. So I've done all of those jobs when I was young. And I was expected to stay in that, field. And, I think about where I am, and my husband, who's also First Nation, was born in a tent on the reserve. So we kind of look at our lives and go, how the hell did we get here? And, we're as amazed as anybody else that, we are where we are. My husband is now a law professor at the University of Calgary. I come from a long line of leaders in my community. My great-grandfather, Alexandre Laviolette, signed Treaty for us, Treaty number 8, in Fort Chipewyan in 1899. And my family were hereditary chiefs until the mid-1980s, when we moved into Indian Act elections. I'm very happy to see everybody here today, and I know that, time is a resource that is a non-renewable resource, and I'm happy that you've chosen to be here today. So I have a few notes here, and I think I'd like to speak about some misconceptions around Indigenous people. There is a lot of misinformation out there, and I've been really distressed over these past couple of days, hearing and learning about what has been happening with our Governor General. A very esteemed, a very accomplished, a very educated Indigenous woman, and she had to shut down her media feeds because the messages that she was getting on social media were so vile. I was shocked to see some of the things that people were saying to the highest ranking person in Canada. We know that, and as a sociologist, learning about Canadian society, people do not know that most Canadians would not qualify to come to Canada under the qualifications that we have now. We have a big, beautiful country, and we know that sometimes immigrants and people who are newcomers bear the brunt of some of that racism, and it's very unfounded. And when I tell my students that most Canadians, quote, old stock Canadians, as they may be called in Quebec, would not qualify to come to Canada. And I get, this collective sucking of breath, like, oh my God, I can't believe she said that. But, those are the facts that we have. In Canada, we, as First Nation people, suffer a great deal of racism. As an Indigenous woman, I can also tell you that that I've had my own very unhappy situations with racism as well. So I'm sure I don't have to tell anybody in this room what it's like to be on, the receiving end of that and have the, daily pinpricks of having to justify why you're here. So in my community, we have a historical record that goes back 13,000 years. So we have been in our nation, in our area, for a very, very long time. And in fact, when the treaty was signed in 1899, we had had contact with Europeans at that time for over 100 years. So when people came into the community and were saying, where are the Indians? Well, the Indians were right there. We have a very rich, a very robust, very hardworking community, and many people don't get to see that. People see that, there may be people who are homeless in our community that are on the streets. And I believe it's very unfair for people, a whole nation, to be judged by the weakest and most vulnerable people in the community. So I ask you to please be, caring and understanding, because we have had some very, very harsh policies placed against us. I'm a residential school survivor. I was in the Holy Angel Residential School in Fort Chipewyan, Alberta, and we had 100 years of residential schools in our community. I was in Fort Chip this summer, and the church was burned down. And a couple of months later, the father's house, where there is also a tremendous amount of abuse that went on, that was also burned down. So this is, some people are very sad about it. Other people are very happy about it. And so this is, the state of the world in Canada. This gal is trying to get me to stop talking. So, but just to let you know that, just one last thing. Many times people think that Indigenous people are without merit. We have a larger proportion of our adult population in post-secondary institutions as we speak, at 6% higher than mainstream society. Our women, 1/3 of our female workforce work in business and administration. We are a force to be reckoned with, and I ask that you get to know Indigenous people.
Okay. Hi, how am I supposed to follow that? Seriously. Everybody, I'm Christina Stuwe. First of all, I want to thank the Heart and Stroke for allowing me to be one of the 4 women representing them this year. It's a huge privilege and an honor to represent what they do. I also want to thank my husband for his constant support. He's my rock. He is outside manning the table with my book, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But I just want to say before I begin, being a heart patient is very emotional and at times traumatic, and that's what I am. So if anyone hearing my story feels triggered, please do not hesitate to leave the room if you need to. I completely understand, and I've been in your shoes. My story begins as well as with my book. I was watching cartoons with my son, February 18th, 2017. My son was 8 and we were just chilling. And all of a sudden, my heart started beating and it felt like it was beating outside my chest. I felt like I was having a heart attack. So I went to the clinic. I had a blood test and an EKG done. They realized that something was wrong with the rhythm of my heart, but they didn't know what. So I had 3 more EKGs, several blood tests. I had a 24-hour heart monitor. And 7 months later, I met with a cardiologist. They did a stress test, which was non-conclusive. They did an echocardiogram, which I know saved my life. It identified that my lower left ventricle of my heart was functioning at 35% instead of the normal 55%. My cardiologist, with all these results in hand, wanted to wait a year and see what would occur. At that point, I had my husband with me. We looked at each other and we went, we're not leaving your office until you give us a conclusive test, because obviously something was wrong with my heart. So on November 16th, 2017, I had an angiogram that changed my life. And my dad had actually had an angiogram prior in November of 1992. The results were overwhelming. I had one artery that was 100% blocked, which meant that I'd had a heart attack. They estimated it had occurred about 3 years previous. So at age 44 and 6 years after the birth of our son. I did not have any regular symptoms nor pain at the time of the heart attack. As hindsight is always 20/20, I knew immediately the date and the event where my heart attack occurred. When I had the angiogram though, not before. And that is why research at the Heart and Stroke and Dr. Karen Nirenberg is so important, so that what happened to me could be prevented in future women. You see, Dr. Karen Nirenberg's research is on hypertensive disorders of pregnancy. It's estimated that 15 to 20% of Canadian women develop one or more of the following issues: preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, and gestational hypertension. For me, in my pregnancy, I had gestational diabetes and hypertension, and 2 out of 3 in this case is not a good thing. It meant I had a 50% more likely chance to develop cardiovascular disease in the future. Yet no one warned me of this risk, nor how to prevent it from occurring when I was older. So back to my heart. One artery was 100% blocked. The Widowmaker, as it's nicknamed, was 70% blocked. And I had a third artery that was 80% blocked, and the further you went up, it became 90% blocked. I needed a triple bypass to be performed by open heart surgery. Because of my condition being considered critical but not urgent, and 400 people ahead of me needing heart surgery, I was to wait almost 5 months for my surgery. These numbers did not include the 30 to 40 emergency surgeries that are done monthly. I was scared and frustrated, and that was the turning point for me. I reached out to Heart and Stroke here in Calgary and met Anita for the first time. She gave me a report called Misunderstood 2018, and I realized in that report that I was not alone. When my appointment with my assigned cardiac surgeon, Dr. Teresa Kieser, was booked, it ended up being on February 14th, 2018, Valentine's Day, or in this case, Heart Day. I need to mention here that at the time, Dr. Kieser was the only female cardiac surgeon in Alberta, and I had lucked out on being assigned her. She was amazing and caring. She was compassionate, and listened to my concern of a chest scar. Think about it, open heart surgery and my big my big concern was my chest scar, but anyways, she listened to me and actually made my incision 2.5 inches lower, because normally it's like right here. So my son was now 9, and he summed it all up for me. He had one question for Dr. Keyser, and that was, how many surgeries had she done before she did mine? And her answer was 6,000. I immediately relaxed and had full trust in her. After surgery, while recovering in the cardiac ward, my husband and I noticed that I was only one of 3 women in the entire ward, which is odd considering heart disease and stroke are the leading causes of premature death in Canadian women. That translates to every 16 minutes, a woman in Canada is dying from heart disease or stroke. Once I was released and had done some recovery at home, I started cardiac rehab. So important that it gave me self-confidence to work with my new improved heart, as well as to adjust to my new limitations. It also gave me a group environment to heal in. My book is about my journey, my struggles, my triumphs, and much more. I wanted to share my experiences and to get the word out about women's heart health. It's called Yes, It's My Heart, Is It Yours Too? I am hoping to bridge the gap while research, especially by doctors like Dr. Kara Nirenberg, is being done to identify challenge areas and embed changes in the current medical system going forward. I also wanted to let women know that they're not alone. They could carry my book in their back pocket or purse, or a reference as well as a starting point to speak with their healthcare providers. And I have some books, as I mentioned before, and my husband is up there watching the table. And I just want to thank you for having me here and allowing me to share my story.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Bochero. I am proud to be Colombian and a Spanish speaker. I came to Canada when I was 25 years old. I have been living here for 15 years. I met my husband in Colombia, and we came together to have better opportunities as a family. Today, I want to share with you my insights about this process. First of all, I have to teach myself every day that I bring something precious and unique to this country. I bring my culture, my uniqueness, my knowledge, my experiences, my education, and my language. One of my objectives was to grow professionally. As I just finished my university degree 2 months before coming to Canada. I got my business administration degree and international trade diploma in Colombia. I had to overcome all my insecurities with the language to achieve my personal and professional goals. As an immigrant, I put too much pressure to myself to learn the language and adjust to this new culture. So I really value how Canadians support me in this hard process by being kind, helpful, and always trying to understand me when I was asking questions or help in my day-to-day life. Kindness has the power to encourage people when we feel lost, down, or hopeless. And I have noticed that immigrants lose themselves in this process. You need to know that people who immigrate to Canada are brave enough to face all the changes in the new life. I am deeply grateful that I did not have any negative experience in this long process, as people were kind and supportive to me. The journey was not easy, but along my way, I encountered people who were kind and patient. And if you are an immigrant here today, keep going. Pursue your dreams and believe in yourself, because you can do it. I did it, you can do it. Now, as a result of my sacrifice and hard work, I settled into a wonderful life here with my husband, kids, amazing friends, and community like you. I can say I am proud Canadian and also Colombian. This is the beauty of Canada.
We're skipping you. All right. I wrote this morning, and I'm gonna pull out my cheat sheets, since everybody else does as well. Cool. I'm Jenny B. I'm the founder of Jane Bomb Barbecue, and I started this business from a food truck 11 years ago, a food truck that I wrenched in my backyard. It was this, I think it was a 1976 camper van that I could afford with my $15,000 budget. And I got this camper van into my backyard and started taking it apart, and went on this 6-month journey of building a food truck completely bootstrap, and like nobody else in the world would probably do. Well, maybe in some parts of the world, I'm sure. So yeah, quite an experience. And I wanted to talk to you about, that moment, and where Jane Bond has come today, and what it's taken, to get this business from this $15,000, food truck investment to, projected $3 million revenue year coming ahead. Thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot. Actually, it's coming out of your mouth. You don't even really believe it, but okay. So it's not a Cinderella story. I lost my parents, between the ages of 18 and 21. And I have to say that was probably one of my biggest drivers, right? As tragedy can often be. Carl Jung said, you can't have a cup full without it having been empty. 100% true in my case. In my 20s, I then proceeded to completely self-abuse, spent a decade doing drugs. And at the end of that, I kind of got sick of myself, I was always somebody who strived to be excellent. And I played at a national level in soccer when I was young, prior to my parents passing away. So I think I've walked just about every type of, of walk of life. And I'm proud of that. And again, a driver, right? And something that has allowed me to really diversify and to look at my business from many different angles, which I think is completely one of the reasons that we've brought it into success. So I consider myself a DIY entrepreneur. And I heard the term bootstrap financing recently, and I didn't have a term for it. I just knew, oh, that's what I've done, right? And somebody earlier was talking about the fact that women are more likely to build something with low resources rather than to go to the bank and rely on them. In my case, I just didn't have any resources, but I knew that I wanted to do something outstanding, right? And so away I went, right? And so bootstrapping literally means taking it from your boot and throwing it back in your business, and that's what I did. Every cent, every dollar went right back into Jane Bond, to grow it from a food truck to a full service catering operation, where I then was a personal chef for the director of the Revenant, and various other opportunities that sprouted from that hard work and determination. And then we opened up Restaurant One in Forest Lawn, and DIY entrepreneurship. I want to talk about it because, what does it mean? And it's in its entirety. It means absolute and extreme outside of the box thinking. And hello, there we go. I think every move that we have done as a business and that I've done in order to create this business has been outside of the box, because inside of the box wasn't often an option. It just wasn't, whether it was financial restrictions or know-how, right? Even just teaching myself how to be an entrepreneur in the food industry. I mean, so much to learn, right? And building restaurants, so much to learn. And, a big part of that is accepting change. Change is pretty much synonymous with growing a business, right? Every day you can expect it to be different. And if you're not prepared for that, then it's going to leave you behind, right? And I think pivot was one of the words that came up recently as well. During COVID, we had to pivot like unimaginably. It was exhausting. It was tiresome. It was impossible. I kicked and screamed. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to get out of bed some days, most days. But on the other side of it, the pivots that we made actually ended up being future revenue streams. So, I think just another characteristic to speak of about being an entrepreneur, and if you have a journey that you think that you can travel, expect to pivot and know that that pivot is part of the journey, even though it may not feel like something that you want to do in the moment. Is that the stop? That's the stop. Oh, shit. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. So anyways, that's a little bit about my story. And I write a blog, so you can always jump on jbobbarbecue.com and check out more. But yeah, I'd love to share with anybody who's interested in an entrepreneurial journey. Yeah. Cheers. Thank you.
Wow, these were amazing and inspiring stories, all different, all unique. And this is the beauty about stories. We all have different experiences. And by sharing them, we learn so much about all the different perspectives that women have and can contribute to society. So now we'll hear from Center for Newcomer and from Thieba about resources that your organization offers to support women in their endeavors, in their challenges, in their road to success.
I'm not a storyteller, so yes, I'll be needing the cards. But I should say that these are very fantastic stories. And in all honesty, it just makes me feel proud to be associated with a non-for-profit, because I'm pretty much aware that there are non-for-profits that address a lot of the things that have been said today. I know there are non-for-profits for Indigenous people, for health issues, but I guess Sheila's story is what really connects with us as an organization. So Calgary Immigrant Women's Association, apologies, I should say, my name is Onyinye. The Calgary Immigrant Women's Association, CIWA for short, caters to the needs of immigrant women in Calgary. I don't have a cheat sheet, but I have a cheat phone, because there are lots of programs at CIWA. We pride ourselves to have over 50 programs, and we've been in operation for 40 years. When people were speaking earlier, I was just really amazed to find out that there's a lot of work going on that we don't know about. And so if you're hearing about the Calgary Immigrant Women's Association for the first time, I'd like to introduce you to some of the services that we offer. What's interesting is that we cover a number of programs for immigrant women that range from settlement. So when I think of myself as an immigrant, and I've had people talk to me about the same thing, coming to a country for the first time and not even knowing where to buy food. Or when you do know where to buy food, there's a lot of product variation in Canada. It does still drive me crazy. But having somebody to talk to help you understand what you should buy, something that might be close to what you would use from your home country, you find it very helpful, because oftentimes people are overwhelmed when they come here not knowing where to go or who speaks a language like yours. And that's the thing that CIWA is great for. If you're walking just off the street and you don't speak any English, I assure you there's someone that speaks a language that you speak. So there's that settlement support. Interestingly, I should mention, especially now in the tax season, that we're doing tax filing for people. I still don't know how that works. But yes, if people are confused about where to go file their taxes, those are one of the services that we offer. There's also language training. For many immigrant moms, seeing as we're talking about women today, I find that a place to leave your child can just be something relaxing for you to go get something done. So when programs are being offered at Siwa, there's a resident child minding station where you can drop off your kids. I happen to be project manager for one of the programs that is training people in pre-employment skills at the moment. And we're so fortunate to have women that can access free childcare services completely paid for while they learn and develop their skills. And really, again, just like Sheila was saying, when you first come, those are some of the things that you want to touch base with. I tried learning French language once upon a time, and then the good thing for me is that that experience has helped me appreciate, that experience has helped me appreciate how difficult it is to move from a country where you don't speak the language. And it's helped me also to value the struggles of being an immigrant. I often say that the women we encounter in their countries back home would have been superstars, but to come here, start all over again, try to find their foot in the door and just, multitask, which is part of what we were talking about earlier, and just juggle everything that's being thrown at them is part of the reason we do what we do. And we're very, very excited to share with people more information. I have colleagues out at the booth where you can talk to them and find out a lot more about Siwa. And if you have any questions, I will try my best to answer them. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Sheila. I am from Afghanistan. And it is about 1.5 years that I am here in Canada. And I'm proud to attend in this event. And thank you for having me in this panel. I learned a lot from first panel and from second panel. And the storytelling and all these experiences just inspired me as a newcomer that go ahead, don't give up. So in this panel, I'm going to represent Center for Newcomers. I am case manager at Center for Newcomers. Center for Newcomers since 1988 has been a key resource for immigrants and refugees of all nations in Calgary. Services at the Center for Newcomers are influenced by values which are equality and respect, collaboration, communication, professionalism, caring, diversity, and inclusion. Center for Newcomers offers specialized services, attention to newcomers in difficult scenarios using a case management and wrap-around approach. Since 2021, with the influx of refugees arriving from Afghanistan and Ukraine, the refugee response team services supported thousands of women and their families. Center for Newcomers offers some programs for only women program or services for women only. Just I name a few of them. Has Center for Newcomers like Thieba has different programs for different age of people like adult and senior programs. So just I highlight a few of the programs that is just for women. Life skills training for immigrant women that empowers newcomers, women, to understand, adjust, and fully participate in their settlement process. You will learn by sharing your experiences and listening to the experience of other women. It means that to learn from each other. The program organizes activities based on your interest and what you would like to know to help understand your community. The purpose of this group is skill building by empowering the women and providing a safe and confidential space according to their needs. Just a few of these activities. One is driving knowledge test classes that we offer for women newcomers that most of those women, I can say most of them, they don't have the background knowledge of driving in their back home countries, and it is like a challenge for them to go for driving test and get their license 7. So we provide this training, just teach them how to pass the test and those questions that successfully we have around from October, I started these classes, and until now, 90 women that they succeed this program and they got their license. And another activity is a women peer support group that she mentioned from Thieba that women post barrier for newcomers women or language. When they have this barrier, they just isolate them at home. So we started peer support group classes, sewing classes for women, that in this sewing classes, besides they learning some sewing skills, they also empower to be economic contributor, not just for their own self, also for their families and community. And also they they practice English, meet new friends, learn and share about the community resources and many other topics such as health, for example, health, low cost grocery store, saving, or these things. Another is ESL classes that women newcomers, they have the barrier of language. So beside the link classes, we started some conversation classes. It means daily conversation classes, that in these classes, beside the learning of language, they also share their experiences. They just learn something new, that how to adjust in a new country, how to do that integration process faster. And for this life skills training, the woman empowers, these trainings empowers newcomers by understanding what is right for them, helps understand the settlement process and you will go through, helps develop your self-confidence and talking to people and speaking in a group, helps you learn better ways to change your way of doing tasks. And how will you benefit from this training? Overcome social isolation and increase social network, promote interaction and peer support among women participants, meet new friends, build your self-confidence. Oh. So just I want to end by one word. There is no force more powerful than a woman determined to raise. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Onyinye. I know we are running out of time. We could sit here all day and listen to every one of you.